Hello, everybody. I just had to show off the outfit. I'm just having fun. This was my Birds of Prey attire. Yes, I knew Joker was not going to really appear in the movie, but I wanted to represent anyway. On that note, I figured we'd just do a quick review of Birds of Prey. I will, as always, I will try to cover things without spoilers, and then when we get into spoiler territory, I will warn you. Preface this, I guess, by saying that I had a lot of reservations going into this movie. I love Harley Quinn. I love the DC cinematic universe. I'm a big fan of a lot of these characters. My concern was how the film was going to be handled, especially because there had been all those weird rumors before the film was out about Black Mask being quote unquote flamboyantly gay and trying to get dick pics back from that were like hidden in a diamond Cassie had stolen. And thankfully, let's clarify right away, none of those rumors are true. Thank God, none of those rumors are true. If they were ever true, they cut and reshot the movie a lot, but it doesn't seem like one of those obvious patch jobs. Justice League. So I assume those rumors just weren't true. Either way, the movie we got is free of those problems. So that was a pleasant surprise. The movie itself, it has very good action. It's very entertaining. I can't say a lot about the soundtrack. There are a couple pretty good songs in there, that suit like the flavor, the Harley feel, or like the theme of what they're going for. But it's no Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad had a really fun soundtrack, and this movie really doesn't. There's a lot of kind of trashy. This was like a deliberate choice. This was the best you could find type songs in there that just didn't float my boat. But like I said, there were a few positives. There were a few good ones in there. And I am curious to listen to the full album because I'm just going by the ones that you hear in the movie. But, I'll give the album a listen at some point and just see if there's any hidden treasure in there, because it's fun to explore these comic film albums. And DC has made a sort of a habit of giving us unique songs for each movie. So that'll be fun. I will say it's a well-performed movie. As usual, as if there was any doubt, Margot Robbie brings it big time. She did a terrific job as Harley Quinn again. She was one of the highlights of Suicide Squad, and she is no doubt, to me, one of the huge highlights here. I was very happy with Huntress, which I kind of anticipated I would be. I had a feeling they were going to do a pretty good job with her, and I felt like they did. Black Canary's okay. I was okay with how they handled her. She does feel like, stylistically at least, she feels like she fits right in. Like I like that she's got like the septum ring and everything. Makes her feel like she goes with the more punk edge versions of like Joker and Harley and everybody that the DCEU has, as people call it, have presented. Renee is performed fine. They go with the modern comics where she has like an ex lesbian lover or whatever who's like a lawyer. So I like the Montoya of Batman the Animated Series. That's what I grew up on. She was younger in that than she is in this movie. Her personality was a little different, and the movie seems to draw more on the modern version of her. From what I know of the modern version of her, I'm way behind on my comic reading. And I don't typically like when comics get political or socio-political or anything. I tend to steer away from that. Because I really, even whether I agree with your message or I don't, I really just don't like feeling like you're on a soapbox trying to sell me something. But she was a likable character here, even though she isn't like the Montoya that I'm used to from my childhood. It's fine. They did a pretty good job with her. Okay, we're back. It is too hot for that hoodie right now. Uh, Black Mask, I felt like was actually really good. He doesn't come off like, as the rumor said, flamboyantly gay. He comes off like he's just kind of a chauvinist, and more than anything, he comes off like he's really just kind of a spoiled brat, which is exactly how he was in the comics. So I was happy with how they handled him, I think, in large part. He Ewan McGregor, I think, is a good actor, and he was a good choice for this. Uh, I was mostly happy with Zaz. Zaz is one of those characters I feel the movie did passably with. I liked some of his dialogue because they allude to the whole, I'm setting you free, by killing you thing. And he does have his cuts, his marks that are like one for every kill. But he seemed too in his right mind, like evil and sadistic, but too in his right mind. Whereas I'm used to Zaz being just fucking nuts, just like completely unhinged. And it would have been nice to explore that, to have him feel a little more that way, because I think it just makes him a little more unsettling as an enemy. If the guy seems like he's just kind of a henchman, and he's more or less, he's like evil but technically sane, if that makes sense, it makes him less scary. So I don't feel like they used him to his full potential. I'm Cassie was the one I was really convinced this movie was going to ruin. All of the posters, all of the trailers, I was getting serious Fire Fist vibes. The really fat kid from Deadpool 2. It's probably a nicer way to say that, but I mean, it's not untrue. But that kid, what is he, New Zealand or something? From Deadpool 2, I was getting seriously similar vibes, like the annoying sidekick nobody asked for. But when I went and saw the movie, I didn't feel like Cassie was like that. She really didn't annoy me most of the time. I felt like she was a pretty good character. That said, she bears extremely little resemblance to her comic self, which is unfortunate because her comic self is pretty interesting, especially with like her deafness issues and stuff. It would have been kind of cool to see that represented on film, and they still could do that at some point if they bring her back in like a future movie. Hopefully, a future movie that involves Batman at some point. But she could still have that stuff happen. But for the time being, she's like a pretty likable character who is like almost nothing like her comic self, which is fine. It's not like the comics are gospel and you can't deviate at all. Sometimes creative license is a good thing, but it's also disappointing when the comics had some fun stuff with her, and it would have been nice to see some of it. I felt like the story was good. The story could, without giving you spoilers, the story could be a little more cohesive at times. It feels, fittingly, I guess, it feels a bit jumbled because Harley is kind of our narrator. But ultimately, the story it's pretty basic, but it works. I mean, it functions well. Everybody has like a motive that kind of ties them all together. So I would say, I was happy with, by and large, most of the movie. And, I liked most of the costumes, which I wasn't sure I would. But actually watching the movie, I was like, okay, this actually feels pretty good. I felt like most of the action scenes came together well. They're not the best in the DC universe or whatever, but they were good action scenes, and you can see the influence of Stahelski, or however you say his name, from the John Wick movies. You can see how his contribution in reshoots really comes through in the way that some of the action plays out. I was thinking of certain scenes in John Wick 3 a little bit. So the action is solid. And, I was thinking during one of the scenes, like, it had to have been a unique challenge for him to make fighting with a baseball bat that impressive, because it's not as flashy as a lot of other weapons. So, props to him for that. In terms of, you know what, let's get into spoilers now. You've been warned. I don't know what that was. I'm just very, very fond of my Joker shirt. um, Spoiler territory, I would say I was fine with the fact that they blew up Black Mask in the end. I was a little conflicted in the moment, but in the end I decided I was okay with it. Though I do think comic films really, as a rule, need to stop killing all their villains during the first outing with them. A lot of comic films underutilize their bad guys and then just pop them off. I was less okay with Zsasz dying, because I feel like he was a character who wasn't done as much of a service here, and so I want to see him come back. Fortunately, the way he dies is like, you could write that off easily. A director could come along, hopefully not Kathy Yan, we'll get to that in a minute, but a director could come along and say, I want to use Zsasz, and I don't feel like his death was definitive, so let's just say he survived, and you could make some passing comment about how that bitch clown almost killed me, and like, boom, Zsasz is alive. It would work for me. It would be fine with me, and it would be a chance to see his character really utilized more properly before they kill him off. I would really like to just see him in a Batman movie. This whole thing is like, that brings me to one of my other little critiques, which is, it's so fun to have these Batman references. Harley names the hyena Bruce after, quote, that hunky Wayne guy. She references Batman at least a couple times over the course of the movie. Stay through the credits for a funny little audio thing. And at the same time, it feels like, why are we bothering to reference Batman when we don't know when we're going to see Batman in this universe next? Because right now it feels like, it's just a tease. Like, why are we talking so much about Batman when we might not be seeing him in this universe for a little bit? Like, God willing, we will, but nothing has been confirmed. Nothing's been slated. Like, what's going on with this? So, it's just a double-edged sword. The Easter eggs are fun, but they're also kind of bittersweet. My only other real gripe with the movie, we can kind of address this two in one. I don't think Kathy Yan was a great choice for director. That's not my final gripe with the movie, but it correlates, so I'm like leading in. It doesn't feel, without the characters and the cast, especially Harley, without Margot Robbie carrying this movie, it would feel strangely lifeless. And at times, just here and there, it kind of does. Oh, I forgot, Easter eggs wise, I love the Captain Boomerang Easter egg. When she's in the, it's not GCPD, but wherever she is, that one police department, she is on her way out and sees, to get Cassie, and she sees a wanted poster for Captain Boomerang, and stops and goes, hey, I know that guy. Like, that was a terrific Easter egg. This movie does feel like it correlates very smoothly with Suicide Squad. Just like the flavor and the flair and references, and Harley goes on a rant at one point that details, kind of in summary, a lot of the Suicide Squad events. I really liked how cohesive it felt. That was really nice. So it's odd to go from that comment back to what I was saying, which is, I don't think Kathy Yan was the right choice for this. I know it's a fixation with Hollywood right now. They are obsessed with getting political correctness points, and they have this weird idea that if it's a female character, you need a female director. If it's a black character, you need a black director, or Asian, so on and so forth. But I don't think that's true. That's a whole other topic, but what if a woman understands a male character best? What if she has the best story? Are you going to pass her up, so the guy can direct? Or what if the reverse is true? What if there's a guy out there who has a great story for like Wonder Woman or Harley Quinn, and you're like, sorry, you're the wrong gender. We're going to profile and not cast you because we want to be like PC or whatever. I feel like, unfortunately, I feel like that's part of how Kathy Yan ended up in the job, because she doesn't have a resume that says, oh, she'd be a great choice for this kind of film. And unknowns have succeeded in comic films before, but here I don't feel like she really was the right fit. There's a number of maybe little reasons for that. A lot of it is just kind of a flavor thing. Some of it is she kind of seems like an unpleasant person. The more I see interviews with her, the more I read her comments, the less I like her. And that's unfortunate. I want to like people. I want to be behind this. I want to be behind directors of the DC movies. They've had a great run of most directors. Joss Whedon doesn't count. So it would be nice to be able to say, oh yeah, she's one of the great DC directors, just like everyone else. I consider her the first real mistake outside of the butchery of Justice League. Bringing in a different director there, but like I said, he doesn't count. So I consider her, to be kind of the first oopsie moment with DC Cinematic Universe movie directors. Where it's like, man, normally you choose such good directors. Why did you choose her? She didn't seem like a great choice for this. And you can't get all political on me and say that I don't like female directors, because Patty Jenkins did a great job with Wonder Woman, and I just included her in that list. So, boom. My biggest issue with the movie, and I think unfortunately this does fall at least partly, I think partly on her, on Kathy Yan, and partly on the studio, is the whole, even though I knew he wasn't in it, the whole movie, I could not stop, I tried, I could not stop feeling like, wouldn't it be amazing if Joker walked in any given scene? As I'm watching, I'm like, he could show up here. They should have put him in here. Where's Joker? Is Joker showing up? Even though I knew he wasn't coming, I couldn't, this understood, but I couldn't turn this off. I was like, but I want Joker to show up so badly. And they're tiny little teases. Oh, we saw the back of his head for a split second in the Ace Chemicals flashback. Oh, we saw the back of his head with a body double for a split second when, Harley's flashing back to Joker tattooing a clown smile and everything on that guy's face because she dared him. That DC, WB needs to stop giving us these, it feels almost mean to the fan base, as dramatic as that sounds, to give us these teases that amount to nothing in the end. Like the Shazam thing with headless Superman body double. That was just a schedule conflict, as I understood. I remember reading it was because they only had the school booked for a week for shooting, and Henry Cavill was busy with The Witcher or some shit, and so he couldn't come, film a Superman cameo, but they asked him. They wanted him to. This is more offensive because Kathy Yan very rudely, when asked about, Leto and Joker, just flat out said, we didn't feel we needed Leto, and, just like we didn't need Joker. Like, that's a really rotten way of saying that. Like, why don't you just say, we couldn't find a spot for Joker in this movie, a way to fit him in organically, maybe next time, or something to that effect. Why do you have to spin on the actor who has done nothing to you, in addition to excluding a character who very much could have fit into this movie and who would have been a welcome addition? They sure talk about him enough. It would have been nice for him to show up for a scene. And it would have, I think there are a number of ways I could have thought of for him to fit in quite organically, whether it was him coming to mess with Harley because she's stepping out on her own, whether it was him interfering with Sionis' business dealings because, you know, he's the king of crime in Gotham and he doesn't want someone else invading on his gang's turf or whatever. There are a number of ways they could have put him in, and they chose not to. It was not that there was no spot for him, they chose not to include him, all in the name of focusing on Harley. And I get that it's Harley's movie, and that's fine. We all love Harley. But there was room for Joker. Just give us one scene. That's all we needed. You know, I would have been happy. I would have left the movie overjoyed at just one scene with Leto's Joker. But they chose not to even give us that. And that is majorly disappointing. And it feels like they're avoiding him, which is very insulting. Even Harley's, you know, animated little sequence that starts the movie, he looks just like a comic version of Joker. He doesn't look iconically like Leto's Joker distinctly. He just looks like kind of a garden variety cartoony Joker. And even the Ace Chemicals flashbacks, it's like, did you digitally edit him out of the background of a couple of those shots? Because he was visible, you know, when she's like standing on the edge and she's about to jump into the vat. Like, why would you do that? Why are you being so horrible to Jared Leto and to Joker fans that you want to, like, stop listening to the hater trolls? They are a tiny minority that screams with a loud voice. That's usually what the case is with haters and trolls and internet fanboys. Stop listening to them. Your built-in fan base is the people who just passionately love these characters and they will come out to support you. So those are the people. If you want to cater to someone, cater to your actual fan base. So that was an issue for me. That was a big issue for me. I was just very disappointed, even though I knew he wasn't going to be in it. I couldn't get past it. I couldn't get past how they had great opportunities to use him and they didn't use him. The good news is I feel like this movie is serving as something of a catalyst to get the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad released. I'm seeing more and more buzz for it on social media since Birds of Prey came out. More people are using the hashtag release the Ayer cut. More people are talking about like, hey, there's all this Leto Joker footage we never got to see. And I think a lot of that is because, one, Margot Robbie's a great Harley Quinn. And so seeing her again reminded people of Suicide Squad, made us want to see the true version of that movie. Two, the way they fucked Joker over and just totally snubbed Jared Leto made the true fans want to see the true cut of Suicide Squad even more. So, you know, there's push for that. We also need to push for the Snyder cut, you know, continue to push for that because it sounds like he has a scene in that in Arkham. So, as if there weren't enough reasons to want the Snyder cut released. So in the end, that rant aside from an impassioned, somewhat irked Joker fanboy, I did quite like Birds of Prey. I would say it's one of the weaker DC movie universe movies, but I did really like it. It's a lot of fun. I would have left overjoyed if we had had Joker in it somewhere. Instead, I left kind of disappointed because of that, but I also left feeling like I was entertained, I had a good time, I could accept a lot of what they did with the characters in the movie. You kind of have to call that a win. You know, if you can go to the movie and they did justice to most of it and it was entertaining, that's a win. So now it's time for you to tell me what you thought. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What did you think about it? Did you have any particular thoughts, favorite parts, constructive criticism, yada, 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 yada. Anything. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will see you in the next one.